In this video, we are going to be going over the new offline backup mode for the cloud. We're going to go through how you set that up. We're going to go over using it, what happens while you're in offline mode. Basically everything you need to know to use this new mode. This is exclusively for cloud users. It is also intended as a backup. It is much more limited than using the software normally. For example, you won't be able to add or edit items, but you can add customers, you can do transactions, the basics of what you have to do to get by. It is also worth mentioning, if you are a integrated credit card user, the offline backup mode will not make your credit cards that are internet-based work. If you don't have an internet connection, you will want to pursue another plan for what you do in that case. So we're in here on a cloud database, and you can see in the register we've got a button in the lower left that says cloud. That indicates that we are currently connected to our cloud database. So if we go down there and click it, then once we've clicked that, we're going to get a screen showing us that the local backup database has not been configured. It's going to talk about it. We can install a new server, or if you already have SQL Server installed locally on the machine you're wanting to set up the backup server on, then you can hit use an existing server. But we're going to install a new server here. We are going to skip forward a little bit here in a few moments to just kind of gloss over this install, but you will have one local backup server per store. So if you're on different networks, you do have to pick and choose which of your stations will be able to be up in the event of an outage. That's just a limitation of working offline. You can only really do it from one station at a time so that it can reconcile everything afterwards and convert all your transactions to permanent transactions. So yeah, we're just going to jump ahead here in the install, and then the SQL Server installation should finish here in just a few seconds. Once that's done, it's going to configure it and it's going to start doing its initial sync process. So we're just going to take a look here. Essentially, on average, depending on your database, it's going to take, after you do this setup, 15 to 20 minutes for the initial sync. So you can see we're now configured to use the local backup server, and behind the scenes it's going to start doing our initial sync. So we are going to jump ahead here in a second to a situation where our server is offline. So we're just going to kind of skip ahead here in a moment. So we've now configured it to not be able to connect to the server. We've kind of cheated that to pretend there's an outage. We don't want an actual outage. But you'll notice when we load here, it's going to give us an error warning us that we have been unable to connect to the service. So that should come up any second here. Yeah, so here we go. So we were unable to connect to the cloud. Do you want to fall back on your local backup server? If you say no, the program will just exit. You cannot do anything from there, but we're going to say yes. So we're going to go in offline mode. And then just like normal, you can sign in with whichever accounts. All of your employees will have come along for the ride. So then if we go here to items and then we try to add one, it's going to warn us that we can't. But if we were to want to just select them, we can certainly still search and select and everything. So if you go to the register where it said cloud, you can see it now just says offline. And if you hit it, it'll say you're currently in offline mode. It will offer the option to try to reconnect, but it's just going to, when you next start up the software, once you can reconnect, it'll reconcile. We'll go through that process in a minute. Now you can still add customers, so we're just going to add a customer here in offline mode. So we'll just add one here with our business info, and then we will mark them as having an account and being a rewards member, and we will just save them. When it already exists, we'll just change out one of the numbers here. So then if we go to the register and select that customer, we can then use them to place a special order just like normal. You can also fill special orders. You can do all of that kind of thing. Same with repairs, same with renting. All of that gets reconciled and can be done in offline mode. So we'll finish that out. If we go to the transaction screen, transaction history does not get synced down. So you can only see the transactions that were done in offline mode, and they're going to have a temporary invoice number until it reconciles. And on the receipt next to the transaction ID, it will have an asterisk to let you know that it was done in offline mode. And we'll show you how you can search by that later on once we've reconciled, so that you can find that. So now we will sell a gift card, just to have another example in here. So similar to special orders, you can sell gift cards, redeem them here. That's referring specifically to internal gift cards. If you use a processor, the same caveat about having an internet connection applies. So you can see we've got the second transaction here now. Now, if we exit out here, and then we're going to just fix the configuration issue so that we can go back online. You wouldn't do this. You'll notice when it comes up here, it's going to tell us that it needs to reconcile. And that is the process of everything that you did while you were offline needs to be brought into your online database. So it's going to just give us a warning about that, and we won't be able to use any of the registers until this is done. So once we hit OK here, it's going to reconcile. Now this must be done from the server station. So the station you have the server on, you need to make sure that's the one that you start up first once it comes back online. The other ones won't let you in until you've done this process. So this typically will take, depends on how long you've been offline, but usually it'll be somewhere between 45 seconds to a few minutes, depending on just how long you've been offline, unless you've been running offline for like a truly long time. If you've been offline for like a week or something, it might take a little longer, but you do just have to let it go through, and you can see it's just finished. We'll sign in here, and then we will go, and you can see that now again we've got cloud. If we look up that customer, you can see that the customer has that special order that's been brought in. If we go to transactions, you can actually see at the top that those top two are the most recent ones. But if you do a search, you can search by local ID, and we can search for one or two, and that'll find those transactions. So that's how, if somebody comes in with a receipt with the asterisk next to the transaction ID, you can find it and make sure that it matches, that whatever they're trying to do is what legitimately happened, because it will have given it a permanent invoice ID once it reconciled it. That's kind of the basics of this process. If you have any questions for us, you can contact support, but we highly recommend this be set up for all of our cloud